Hey everyone, welcome back for something a little bit different today. Now there's not too much on this week's sim racing schedule that really tickles my fancy, so I thought I'd take the opportunity to try Rennsport for the first time. Rennsport has recently made it to open beta stage. The Sims based content is all free to download and use, and that's what I'm going to be diving into today. Now I'm not really interested in offline driving or hot lapping, so I'm diving right in to online multiplayer, a GT3 sprint race at Spa. Now I haven't qualified for this one, so I'll be starting at the very back of the grid. I thought that was the most sensible option. It'll give me a chance to familiarise myself with how the sim handles and hopefully find a bit of a rhythm. Right, let's get down to the grid and we can see what Rennsport is all about. Well, I'm going to pick up 3 positions before the lights even go green. 3 drivers have not made it to the start line here. We are underway at Spa. Lots of clear track in front of me, although that space quickly disappeared because there was a Porsche standing still on the line. That was Ben Rubsamen, who was due to start from P4 but now finds himself right at the back of the pack. Coming together at T1, Hendrik Schmelz in the Porsche, Joel Torres in the BMW, both facing the wrong way, exiting the source, and that is another 2 positions gain. There may be more because there is another big wreck in front. Artem Ermolev in the BMW sliding right back across track. I take to the grass to get around him. XOU in front of me wasn't so lucky. He ploughed right into the BMW. And astonishingly, from the back of the grid, I find myself up into P4. And here's another look. We had 3 no-shows at the start. Make that 4 because Ben Rubsamen never got going. So I've already climbed from P12 up to P8. Then at turn 1, the BMW of Torres trying to move up the inside of Schmelz in the Porsche. They both spin around. I was really lucky to squeeze through that one. Schmelz was rolling back towards the wall. I just crept through, grazing that Porsche. And then at the bottom of the hill, we had an even bigger incident involving another BMW. Artem Ermolev, starting from pole position, is getting elbowed out onto the grass by one of the Porsches. And dear me, that was really rough on the approach to Eau Rouge there. And as Ermolev slides back across track, XOU can't avoid him. I take to the grass to make sure I get around okay. We're going to take a look from another angle now. This is XOU right in front of me. The BMW is going to appear right now. Yu leaves it too late to react. He loses control, crashes into the barrier. Meanwhile, I was overcautious. I took to the grass and left plenty of room. Well, so much for starting at the back of the grid. We're not even halfway around this first lap, and already I find myself chasing down a podium. And based on what I've already seen on this opening lap, I can't say I'm too encouraged by the driving standards on display. However, we can't be too critical. This is an open beta. The content is all free to play. And now that the pack has started to spread out a bit and we've got past those early wrecks, hopefully I can find a decent battle to have. If I do find one, it's likely to be with David Chiroux in front. Now that Porsche is weaving all over the place, so I'm wondering if Chiroux was the other driver involved in that clash with Artem Ermolev at the start of the lap. It certainly looks like he's driving with damage because that Porsche is not stable at all, so this is going to make any overtake attempt even more tricky. It may just be the sensible option to wait until we get to the Kemmel Straight on lap 2 and hopefully I can use the speed advantage to get past him. Oh, I get really caught out there on the gas exit in the corner. I almost run right into the back of that Porsche. Poor old Chiroux almost had more damage to contend with there. Right, jumping forward to the start of lap 2. Can I get past Chiroux down the Kemmel Straight? Well, I need to get as close as I possibly can through Eau Rouge and Radlon. And if he is carrying as much damage as I think he's carrying, he is surely going to be down on top speed when we hit the Kemmel Straight. And yeah, he's struggling to keep that Porsche in a straight line. He's out on the grass to the left, so I just need to tuck in behind through Eau Rouge. Oh, I get caught out once again, and I have to abort the corner out to the runoff area. That is going to cost me a load of time, so there will be no overtake on the Kemmel Straight on this lap. And it's always so difficult when you're battling with a driver who's in a damaged car. It's just so unpredictable. You've got to really have your wits about you. And I just made a simple lack of judgment going into Eau Rouge there. I got a little bit closer than I should have done. It caught me out and I very nearly paid dearly for it. Thankfully, I managed to keep myself facing in the right direction. And as you can see, it hasn't taken me long to close right back in on Chiroux. But I've got to be really careful here. Chiroux a little bit wide on exit from the hairpin. There's a gap on the inside. I will dive into it. However, I'm going to be on the outside for no-name corner, but it doesn't matter. Chiroux backs out, and that is me up into 3rd position. Now, when I made that pass, Alan McGann in second position was more than 5 seconds clear. However, fast forwarding just 1 lap later, I am right on the tail of the Porsche. It doesn't look like McGann is driving with any damage. However, he is driving incredibly cautiously, maybe trying to build up some safety rating. Whatever the reason, it's going to be a fairly routine overtake up the inside into the hairpin, and that puts me up into P2. So yeah, sadly not much competition for me to really put Rennsport through its paces online. However, there were other challenges, namely back markers. We've jumped forward to lap 4. Now I'm 7 seconds behind the race leader, Franz Roll, and I am closing in on him, but not closing in enough to catch him before the end of this race. One driver I am catching, though, is the back marker Hendrik Schmelz. Now I'm closing in fast and I've spotted what looks like a safe place to pass on the left, but suddenly Schmelz swerves right across in front of me. There's big contact. I'm out onto the grass, wrestling with the car to try and keep it out of the barrier and keep it facing in the right direction. I've just about managed it, but yeah, that was not good at all. Here's a replay. Now, we first saw Schmelz at T1. He was one of the drivers to spin out in that first corner, and it looks like his fortunes haven't got any better as the race goes on. It looks like he's really struggling to control that Porsche, gets it back on track, then lights up the rears, spins it again, and it is a complete mess. Now, all the while, I am getting closer and closer. When Schmelz does finally get back on track, facing in the right direction, we're going to see me entering from the bottom of the screen. There I am. Now, I spot the gap on the left. I think this is going to be a fairly routine overtake, but all of a sudden, Schmelz swerves right across in front of me in what looks like a deliberate act of blocking. Thankfully, though, despite the heavy contact, I was able to keep control of the car and stay on track, so I managed to maintain my second position just. We've now jumped forward to the end of the race. I've exited the final corner and I'm going to take the checkered flag in P2. But in truth, not much competition in this online race. With hindsight, I probably shouldn't have started at the back of the grid, so I thought I'd give it another go, this time putting in a qualifying lap, and lo and behold, I've put it on pole position. My time was a 2:19 flat. Now that's only 1/10 quicker than Tim Venker alongside me on the front row, so hopefully this race I'll have a little bit of a battle on my hands. Lights are green and we're underway for race 2. The perfect launch off the line for me there. I can move straight over to the racing line because I had a much quicker getaway than all the cars behind me. I am going to go in a little bit wider into T1 though. I just saw in my rearview mirror Isaac Oliveira having a sniff up the inside as we hit La Source. So just by hanging a bit wider, I was able to keep myself safe and hold on to the lead. Oliveira, though, has moved up into second position. He's got past Tim Venker. Oh, and I just didn't quite get my line right through Radlon there, out onto the curb on the inside. And that pushes me out to the curb on the outside, and I'm going to get eaten alive down the Kemmel straight. Isaac Oliveira pulls alongside. I'm going to take the defensive line, but it's not going to do me any good because look at the extra speed that Porsche has got. So Oliveira takes over at the front. Now I'm down to second, and behind me there is an almighty tussle for third. Tim Venker looks like he's come off worst in that one. He has dropped down to 5th position. Now it is Ruben Gonzalez behind me. So yeah, a much better start than race 1, but looking at the replay again, we can see just how wrong I got Radlon. Right out over the curb on the inside, too much of the curb on the outside, and I'm now a sitting duck. Isaac Oliveira is never going to have an easier overtake than that one. Now we're going to stick with this replay coming down the Kemmel Straight. Look to the background and you will see a huge wreck. So yeah, I am pleased that I decided to qualify for this one. Starting at the back certainly doesn't seem like a good idea in Rennsport at the moment. Right, back to the live action. We're jumping forward to lap 4. And sadly, I just didn't have the pace to keep up with Isaac Oliveira. He has built up a 2-second advantage. Meanwhile, behind, Tim Venker has regained his 3rd position and he is within 1 second. But look ahead, coming out of no-name corner, a big mistake for the race leader, Oliveira. And is he going to slide back across the track? I get on the brakes and creep through, but I've lost a lot of momentum. It looks like Venker behind and was able to carry a lot more speed as he got past the stricken Oliveira. So now I'm in the lead, but under real pressure. Let's check out the replay and see the mistake that Oliveira made. And it looks like a simple case of too much corner entry speed. That Porsche was oversteering even before he reached the curb on the outside. There's me hard on the brakes to get past safely. So that gave me the lead of this race, and I was able to hold on to it fairly comfortably until the very final lap of the race. Tim Venker was always within 1 second of me, but he never quite got close enough to challenge. However, he is going to throw everything at it as we reach the final chicane for the very last time. Look in the rearview mirror. Venka coming in really hot, but he has lost it. So Venka pushing as hard as he possibly could, and he pushed a little bit too hard there, and that allows me to cross the line and take the checkered flag to win this race. A pole position and a race victory. Let's check out the replay. We can see just how close Venka was getting, flashing his headlights. He's trying everything he possibly can to put me off here into this final chicane, but he ends up making the mistake himself. So yeah, race win in only my second Rennsport outing. However, I'm not going to get too carried away with that. This was not a competitive grid. A sim in open beta with free-to-play content is always going to be a work in progress, with a very broad range of standards and abilities on track. I do have to say though, I was pleasantly surprised with how the car felt. It's certainly a different feeling to ACC. Steering inputs in particular were a little more aggressive, which gave me a bit of difficulty with oversteer in the early stages, but I was able to quickly adjust to that feel, and I felt pretty comfortable in that second race. It'll be interesting to see just how Rennsport develops over the coming months on its journey to open access. I'll certainly be checking in to follow its progress. Thank you ever so much for watching, and if you've tried Rennsport too, let me know what you thought of it.